you. Who else could it be but your man Louie? Yeah.
And all the time.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Monday Night Football Overtime. Packers. Go, Pack, go. Go, Pack, go. Taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Go. Oh, no. NFC North. Family business. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. Packers handling their family business as they've done all season within the division. Now a sparkling 5-0 in the division. Season sweep over the Minnesota Vikings clinches the NFC North division with the 23-10 victory. It was really dominant. The score really doesn't do this beating justice because this was a thorough ass whooping handed out by the Packers, not on the scoreboard, but on the football field itself, especially up front in the trenches. That's where this game was won. The Packers dominated the line of scrimmage offensively, rushing the football at will at times in the second half, but really controlling the pace of this game in the first half. There weren't big chunk runs in the first half, but they were getting steady incremental gains. It was 2, it was 4, it was 3, it was 5, it was 1, but they weren't going backwards. They weren't going lateral. They were generally moving forward and keeping them in third and manageable situations. And they started to wear on this Vikings defense. And you heard Booger McFarland say during the telecast, at some point the dam is going to break. This Vikings defense had been on the field way too long. And at some point they were finally going to give in. And it happened in the fourth quarter on that long touchdown run to put the game out of reach. Aaron Jones, another outstanding performance. One of the better backs in the league. A lot of people, I think, are starting to realize just how good he is. He's been really good for quite some time. The problem with him has been injuries and suspensions off the field. When he's on the field, when he's healthy, and the Packers give him the football, and that's been another issue going back to the Mike McCarthy days, is getting him involved and getting him his proper touches. When he is involved in this offense, they are tough to stop, especially when you've got Davante Adams on the outside doing what he did today. When we talk about best receivers in the league, a lot of times we start running off names, and that's why when we had the discussion, I think it was last week, when my man Reed brought up Chris Godwin, is he a top 5 receiver? I'm like, are you crazy? Is he top 10? No, absolutely not. There are so many good receivers in this league, and Davante Adams is among those guys, and he's probably top 5. When you sit down, and I told you, if you gave me 30 minutes to sit down and come up with give me 10 minutes to sit down and come up with an NFL, top 20 list of receivers, he's probably in the top 5. When it's all said and done, it's going to be Michael Thomas. It's going to be Julio Jones. It's going to be DeAndre Hopkins. Those are probably your top 3, whatever order you want to put them in. But then after those guys, you got to start talking about the Davante Adams of the world, the Tyreek Hills. Those types of players are right in that mix as well. This guy is truly special. He's been that way for Aaron Rodgers since he got in the league, and he was absolutely fabulous tonight as well. And they're looking, and I thought Booger said it well tonight, they're looking for that third guy to step up offensively, because you're going to get a dose of Aaron Jones, and if he's got it going, they're going to find Davante Adams. Then who's that other guy if they try to take Adams away, or Aaron Jones doesn't have it going, or he's banged up a little bit? Who's that other guy? And that other guy may be Allen Lazard. He played well tonight. He's had his moments this season. We all remember the Monday night game versus the Lions. It was somewhat of a coming out party for him. But I think it's not going to ever be one guy in Green Bay to be that other guy. I think it's just a collective group. It's Jake Kumerow one week. It's Allen Lazard the next week. It's Geronimo Allison another week. I mean, you really don't know who the hell it's going to be. And I think that's part of what makes this team sometimes tough to stop. And also, it's a gift and a curse. Sometimes that's what makes this team so predictable and easy to stop, because there is no other guy that you can rely on week in and week out. And so if you can take away Davante Adams, which is easier said than done, then you may have a shot to really reduce this offense. We've seen them at times be reduced to next to nothing this season. This was not one of those games, however. Rodgers, he wasn't great in this game, was Aaron Rodgers. He missed some throws. There were some inaccuracies. The throw right before halftime to Devontae Adams should have been an easy touchdown. Now, I've seen Aaron Rodgers throw that with his eyes closed 10 million times. Easy, on the money for a touchdown. He just threw it behind him on an easy out route, on an easy, quick out. That's a touchdown. All right, that speed cut right there, perfectly set up, perfectly executed, and he just didn't make an accurate throw. That drop that Allen Lazard had that was originally ruled a catch, went back and overturned by replay, that's a bad throw by Aaron Rodgers. So he was not sharp in this game. He missed some throws, had the fullback, Vitale, open for a possible touchdown, overshot him. It wasn't one of his better performances, but when they needed him on these critical third downs, on slants and things of that nature, he was outstanding, did a great job of getting the Packers in the right play calls, moving guys around, changing the side of which the run was on, canning plays and getting them into the right plays. I thought he was really good at managing the game tonight, was Aaron Rodgers. Aside from the one interception, that's a hell of a play by Anthony Harris. Outside of that one interception, I thought it was a masterful job of Aaron Rodgers just controlling the game. He didn't do anything fantabulous tonight, but he did manage this football game on third downs when throws needed to be made. He made them. When they needed crucial conversions, he made them for the most part tonight, and he kept that Vikings defense off balance. And they really were never able to get into a rhythm, especially in the second half, because Aaron Rodgers and his offense really controlled this game. And I talked about the domination. Just look at the time of possession if you want to know how badly the Vikings were dominated in this football game. Time of possession is a very telling stat a lot of times. Sometimes the score doesn't indicate how badly a team was handled in a football game. Time of possession usually tells on you. And if you watch this game, then you know the story, but the time of possession will sync up with that, and it'll give you a real feel for how dominant the Packers were in this game despite not really having the points. And really the turnovers, I've always said that turnovers are the great equalizer. Well, in the first half of this game, not for the turnovers, you're probably staring at a 13-0, 16-0, 17-0 type of halftime score. Packers thoroughly dominating the Vikings, but luckily enough for the Vikings, 3 turnovers, they only turned it into 10 points. But those turnovers gave them hope in this game, but they never were able to get into any kind of offensive rhythm. And we sat here last week as we were coming into this week, and I was talking to some Vikings fans, and one of them made the mistake of thinking that their running back group and offensive line were running back proof. He said, we're running back proof. Doesn't matter who we have back there. This ain't the Chargers, bruh. He thought that they were playing the Chargers again and that Mike Boone was just going to come in here and just run roughshod over this Packers defense. And so he's like, hey, we running back proof. It don't matter who's back there. Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, Mike Boone. We can do it. Hell, we'll put our fullback, Ham, back there and carve somebody up. Pun intended. But that's not what's going down. You need Dalvin Cook. And I've said this. I said it last week to that same Vikings fan. I've said it all season. I'm saying it again tonight. The Vikings will only go as far as Dalvin Cook will take them. If he's not healthy, they don't stand a chance. Really, I don't think they stand a chance anyway, but they really don't stand a chance without Dalvin Cook. If they want a minute chance, they got to have at least Alexander Madison. I think he does make a difference if he's in the backfield, at least. But to me, Dalvin Cook is the key cog in this machine. He is the engine that powers this Vikings offense. Kirk Cousins feeds off of him. And he was not good tonight. And I know all the Kirk naysayers and haters are going to come out in droves tonight. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to defend Kirk. All right. They're going to put all of this on Kirk. Well, I'd like to see you take your favorite quarterback, the guy you think is best. Lamar Jackson could have been back there tonight. His ass would have been running for his damn life. They could not protect. Now, you know what I will say is that we have to stop giving credit, or we got to stop blaming the offensive line sometimes and start giving credit to these defenders, man. The Packers can rush. Look, and I know my Redskins don't have the best offensive line in the world either, but Dwayne Haskins was under siege in that game, and I watched, and it wasn't a lot. And then, the thing that is so impressive about the Packers pass rush, it's not a ton of blitzing, man. They don't come with 6 and 7 defenders. All right, they're not getting all that exotic with their blitzing and their packages and their pressures. I will say they do a lot of twists and stunts and things up front, and they do a great job of moving around defenders. Za'Darius Smith usually doesn't land or line up in the same position to rush on the same on two different snaps, especially on third downs. You probably aren't going to see him in the same spot on multiple third downs in a row. So they destroyed our line, though. I mean, Dwayne Haskins was under siege the entire day. He was never really comfortable in the pocket, and it was just a four-man rush. That was it. Same thing tonight. It was just four-man pressures, but they just got their asses handed to them by Za'Darius Smith and Kenny Clark for the vast majority of the night. Kyler Fackrell with a massive rush that yielded a holding penalty that negated any last chance gasp of getting back into this game. I honestly thought that missed extra point was going to come into play, not necessarily in a Vikings win, but in the Packers fans feeling a little nervous down the stretch. That didn't come to fruition at all, as that holding penalty negated any kind of momentum that the Vikings tried to wrestle away from the Packers in this football game in the waning moments, as that rush was just utterly dominant tonight. Za'Darius Smith, I've watched him all season long. This is not the first game he's done this. He's been dominant all year long, but tonight was next level. Tonight was it was pretty damn special. And if not for Chandler Jones and what he did out in Seattle yesterday, this is probably your defensive player of the week type of performance. But because Chandler Jones was a uncaged beast out in Seattle with 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 6 tackles, 3 or 4 of them for tackles for loss, he's going to be your player of the week. And he may mess around and win defensive player of the year. We'll see if he can make that push. He's only 3 sacks away from setting the all-time sack record. He's got 19 sacks after his 4 sacks yesterday. But that's another discussion for another day. Za'Darius Smith was that damn good, though, tonight. 3.5 sacks for him. Another 2 tackles for loss. He was all over the football field. They could not block Za'Darius Smith at all. And when you get a guy dominating like that, then you usually bring friends with you. Kenny Clark then got into the mix. Preston Smith got him a piece of a sack. Like I said, it was a dominant performance by this Packers front led by Za'Darius Smith. And you know what else I really like about this Packers defense? I love their secondary. They spent all of that draft capital on that secondary, and it's starting to come to fruition. Kevin King was an early second rounder. They spent a first-round pick on Jair Alexander. They spent a first-round pick on Darnell Savage. I love and then there's just a sprinkle of veteran presence with Tramon Williams just to set it off. I mean, it's a really quality secondary back there, and they're not even using the Iowa kid, and he was another early round draft choice. So they've got an abundance of talent in that secondary. I love the way that they're able to hold up on the back end. Sans for that one bad conversion they gave up to Diggs on the 3rd and 18. This was a dominant performance by that secondary. And you marry the two together. The rush was outstanding, but the back end coverage was also flawless on the part of the Packers. So what a job by them to stifle the Vikings. And early on in this game, you could feel the energy from U.S. Bank Stadium through the television. I mean, the crowd was just at fever pitch, and it felt like a playoff game atmosphere. I really thought that the Packers did a quality job at first of coming in and settling in, but then the fumble, and then the next possession is an interception, and then the next possession is another fumble, and they weren't back-to-back like that. I mean, it was fumble, then it was a nice little drive by the Packers, but then it resulted in a punt. Then it was the field goal, and then it was the fumble again, or the interception by Rodgers. And so it just felt like they couldn't get into a rhythm because they kept shooting themselves in the foot. But they were moving the football. You felt like if they could just stop turning it over, they're having success. And I've said this all season long. This Vikings defense isn't all that great. Not this year, okay? In past years, Zimmer's usually got these boys firing on all cylinders. That's not the case this year. Nobody's afraid of this Vikings defense. You can move the football on them. Can you get in the end zone? That's another debate for another day. But you can move the football on these boys, You can move it up and down the field. And teams have had success at getting it in the end zone at times, but the Packers were moving the football, but they couldn't get in the end zone. They were 0 for 2 red zone trips initially, but eventually, as Booger said, and I don't give him credit very often, but he said, look, eventually this dam's going to break, man, and you can't keep putting this defense on the field. And then Kendricks left the game, and I thought that's when the tide started to turn just a bit, was when he left late stages of the first half on that Devontae Adams fumble. He came up lame. He did not return to the game, and the game was really never the same. Did you see what I just did there? Anyway, I thought from that point forward, the defense really, and let's not act like they were great in the first half, because they weren't. But it was from that point forward where it just felt like the momentum started to turn, and the Packers started to really gain a little bit of that offensive fluidity that they had kind of lacked because of the turnovers in the first half. And it started to yield them some possessions, moving the football, and then eventually into the end zone, the 2-point conversion. And once they got that 2-point conversion, I felt like they were going to win the game. I thought they were going to win. I picked them to win. I thought they were going to win this game all along. I told you I'm not impressed with Minnesota. Remember, I told you if the Rams were serious, they could have came and got that playoff spot. I wasn't playing. I felt confident in saying that. And if the Rams were serious, had the Rams went to Dallas and did what they were supposed to do, they had a chance to beat San Francisco last week. They could have gotten that last playoff berth, because I told you the Minnesota Vikings aren't serious. All right. However, they didn't want to go. The Vikings are more than capable of filling that 6th and final playoff berth, and they'll be a nice, formidable challenge for someone, New Orleans or whomever gets that 3 seed, and then they'll probably go home right away in wild card weekend. They're the 6th seed now. They can't advance any further than that because of their record. So they're going to get nice and snug and cozy in that 6th seed, and they're going to wait to see who they're going to face in wild card weekend. Wherever it is, it's not going to be pretty. I can assure you of that. Whether it's Green Bay, New Orleans, that's the only 2 teams I believe it can be at this point, because San Francisco is either going to be your 1 seed or they're going to be your 5 seed. I believe that's the case, because they can't be the 2 seed if New Orleans finishes with the same record as them. If they lose the game, they're going to have a worse record than New Orleans if New Orleans wins. So I think right now it's either going to be Green Bay or New Orleans. Either way, I don't see them beating either one of those teams. And say what you want about Kirk Cousins. He was not great tonight, but the pass protection up front was not. It didn't give him a chance. The run game was a non-participant tonight. It was ineffective. It was a non-factor. And Kirk, and he needs that. We said that back in his Washington day. He needs the run game. He didn't have one in Washington. All right. He needs the run game to be at optimal performance. He needs the run game. All right. Now you take that run game away from him and you're able to protect him, he'll still carve you up, which is what he did in Washington, because he never had a run game in Washington. But if you tell me that Kirk Cousins is going to have to survive off of his legs and creating off schedule, that's not Kirk Cousins. It's never been Kirk Cousins. It'll never be Kirk Cousins. You have to protect him, or you better be able to run the damn football, or you better be able to run some screen game. None of that shit was working tonight. None of it was working tonight. It was funny on the telecast, they said, hey, they got to run a screen. They ran a screen, and Colin Fackrell ran his ass down and tackled him for about a 2-yard loss. Even the screen game was dead tonight. So this is just total domination on the part of the Packers in this football game. And they win the NFC North at now, what are they, 12-3 now, with a chance to get to the 2 seed. And they can't get the 1 because the San Francisco 49ers beat them head-to-head. And if Seattle, well, I take that back, because if Seattle wins the division and New Orleans loses as well, then they could win. Let me think. I think if Seattle wins because of the loss, that's what it is. Because of the loss in Arizona, at home versus Arizona, now all the Packers have to do is win and have Seattle beat San Francisco, and they're the number 1 seed. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I said this, I think I said this last night, or I might have said it on Saturday during the triple header. Either way, I said that if I told you, I haven't been the biggest Green Bay Packers supporter throughout this season, especially after the 49ers ass thrashing. I said they're not an elite team. And I said this the other night. I think it was a Saturday night, as a matter of fact, after the 49ers game. That, look, if this team gets home field advantage, they're a different animal. You know, it's cold. Look, San Francisco doesn't want to go there and play in the cold. I don't give a shit how good they think their defense is. They don't want to go play in a 7-degree game. The Packers, they're accustomed to that. The 49ers want to be playing out in Santa Clara with 61-degree temperatures, okay? They don't want any parts of that sub-degree temperatures with a wind chill factor. They don't want no parts of that shit. Neither do the New Orleans Saints outside. Nobody wants to go to Green Bay. I'm telling you right now, if they get the number 1 seed, you're in trouble. If the Saints get the number 1 seed, they can be beaten. But you don't want to go to the Dome either. But they can be beaten. The one place I think out of all the places you don't want to go is Green Bay. That's the one place I don't think anybody wants to go. Seattle, it's not the same home field environment that it used to be. So I feel like you can have success there. Arizona, I'm going to throw that out. That's family business. And Arizona always goes to Seattle and beats those boys. They've never been scared. All right? Going way back. They've always had success. So I'm not even talking about that. Tampa Bay almost beat those boys. Cincinnati almost beat them in week 1 at home. They're just not the same squad at the crib anymore. They're just not. No one's afraid. And New Orleans went in there and dusted them off. I mean, literally dusted those boys. With Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, no less. So it's not the same environment. The only place that I think home field is really going to make a huge difference in the postseason is in Green Bay. If you let the Packers mess around and get the number 1 seed, they could have a bigger impact in this postseason than we initially thought. But if they got to go on the road, I think they can be handled. But if they get home field advantage, look out for the Green Bay Packers, especially if their defense is going to play the way that they played tonight. That was a dominant performance. For the Vikings, they just need to rest up. Next week, you can't advance. You can't get any more than a 6 seed. I wouldn't play Thielen. He didn't look right tonight. Obviously, you're not going to play any of your running backs other than Mike Boone. I throw Kirk out there for a quarter or two, and then I'm good. I get him out there, throw a couple passes, get his juices flowing a bit, and then I get him the hell out of there. And I let my guys heal up because that's the only chance you're going to have at New Orleans or at Green Bay. That's the only chance you're going to have is that you're healthy. You're not good enough offensively, as you saw tonight, to go in there undermanned. All right, you have to have all hands on deck to have a shot. Anyhow, let's get to the comment section. Niners fan says, "Damn, Lou, I know it wasn't Cousins' fault. That O-line was trash, but he simply couldn't get it done. I hate that games like this continue to play into the Cousins chokes narrative." I do too, and the whole Monday night 0-9 thing is it's a monkey on his back. I know it is. It's weighing on him. I know it's killing him. And it's a team game, as Booger said. Like it's a damn shame that he keeps stacking up these L's, but it's the nature of the beast when you're a quarterback, and when you got the first multi-year fully guaranteed contract. All eyes are on you, and they paid you that kind of money for you to perform in these types of spots, and he just hasn't done it. It wasn't his fault the last time they were on Monday night versus Seattle. I didn't put that one on him, but nonetheless, this one, the O-line was just insufferable. They were a sieve. However, he didn't do anything to elevate this team either. So I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, he's going to have to take the fall for this. And really, he's falling on the sword for the whole team because this was a poor performance by the entire squad. The second half, the defense wasn't good enough. The first half, the offense wasn't good enough. The second half, the offense wasn't good enough. The offensive line was out. They were horrible all game long, and really that was the reason this offense couldn't get going. Niners fan says, Brian O'Neill and Riley Reef both stink. Actually, Brian O'Neill, he doesn't stink. He didn't have a good game tonight, though. He did not have a good game. Neither did any of his counterparts along the offensive line. Neither did any of his teammates along the offensive line. They all struggled tonight. X Final Gaming says, gotta love our O-line, Lou. I mean, boy, it was rough tonight, man. Niners fan says Kenny Clark may be the most underrated defensive lineman in the league. I don't know if that is the case or not. I just know Kenny Clark has started to grow into his own. I remember when he was first drafted, the first couple of years, I'm like, man, Kenny ain't really what everybody told me he was going to be. Because I didn't see it. If you go back to my draft breakdown of Kenny Clark, I didn't think he was a first-round pick. I thought he was the most overrated player in that draft from a defensive line standpoint. And he went back into the first round. I thought it was a mistake. And the first 2 years, I thought I was validated in thinking that it was a mistake. And then he's come on the last couple of years, man. He's been really good. And I've always said that with players, every player is different. No two players are alike. Everyone matures at a different rate. You know, some guys come in first year, hit the ground running, dominate the league, never look back. And then you got other guys that it takes them a little while, you know, and it may take them 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. They may have to go to another team before the light bulb comes on and they start to flourish. But for Kenny Clark, he's starting to figure it out, and he's playing some damn good football, man. And he is underrated. I don't know if he's the most underrated, but he is a guy that I think is going under the radar. But he continues to play the way that he played tonight. I think people are going to learn about Kenny Clark here shortly. Niners fan says, when does your bye week end? Will you be live for next Sunday night overtime? No, bye week will not be over by then. When I say bye week, it's the entire week. So Monday to Monday is the bye week. So no, I will not be breaking down that week 17 contest. I don't even think I'll be back in town for that game. As a matter of fact, I will still be out of town. So no, I won't be doing a live breakdown of the game. And I know in your mind you're saying, that's the biggest game of the season, Lou. What are you doing? I get it, man. But I didn't tell y'all to allow Seattle to be back in this division. You could have already had this thing wrapped up a couple weeks ago if you would have did what you needed to do. And see, that's why you said that, oh, man, that loss to Atlanta doesn't matter. Well, had you taken care of business, that loss could have been huge. You know, you could have already had this division wrapped up. So, bottom line is, it's a massive game, but I won't be breaking it down afterwards live. I'll still be on my bye week. JP says, I wasn't buying the Packers at the start of the year, and that LaFleur and Rodgers were going to be at each other's throat. Man, was I wrong. I was right about Houston being good, though. Ali Side says, the only weapons the Packers have is Jones and Adams, but Smith was a beast today. I don't think the Packers will go far in the playoffs, but it will be interesting, especially if they get home field advantage. You're right about the offense, though. It's a two-man show right now. And to me, it's a gift and a curse. A gift in the sense that you don't know who it's going to be that will help as a part of that supporting cast. You don't know who will be that guy to step up. Is it Jimmy Graham this week? You know, is it Jake Kumaro? Is it going to be Geronimo Allison? Is it Alan Lazard? You don't know who it's going to be. Hell, it could even be Williams, the other running back, Jamal Williams. He could step up and have a massive rushing effort and a couple of screens and pop 1 or 2 of those and have a big day. You don't know who that other guy is going to be. However, it's a curse because you don't know who that other guy is going to be, and it may be none of them. And it might just be a two-man show, and if those two guys don't have it that day, you could be in trouble. So I just think that the Packers, if Aaron Rodgers has it going, Jones has it going, and he's finding Devontae Adams, they're going to be a tough team to stop. Niners fan says, I'm salivating at the opportunity of facing either one of these teams in the playoffs. MCGB says, chill out with the Chris Godwin disrespect. Not disrespect, just truth. What you want me to say? Chris Godwin is a top 5 receiver? He's not. You want me to say Chris Godwin's a top 10 receiver? He's not. I don't know what you're looking for, but you're not going to find it here. Whatever you're looking for, you're not going to find it here. He's a good receiver. He's just not one of the best receivers in the league. There are so many different guys that you will run off before you get to Chris Godwin in this league. And that's no disrespect to Chris Godwin. There's just so many good pass catchers in this league. Godwin's probably in the top, I'd say he's in that 15 to 20 range, somewhere in there. But I'm pretty sure I could come up with a list of 15 guys before I even get to Chris Godwin's name. JP says, maybe if Cook played tonight is a totally different game. Not maybe, it is. I don't know if the Vikings win the game necessarily or not, especially with the turnovers. They may have been able to convert another one or two of those into scores, but I don't know if the outcome is any different, but I can tell you it's not a dominating performance by the Packers in which the Vikings barely have 200 yards of total offense. I don't even think they made it to 200 yards of total offense, to be candid with you, because Kirk Cousins had, I think, 122 yards passing, and Mike Boone had like 26 yards rushing or something, and I don't think anybody else did anything. So they might not have even had 160 total yards of offense in this game. It was a putrid offensive performance. RG3 hashtag says, I don't like how everyone blames Kirk Cousins for every Viking loss. It's what's going to happen. You're going to get Redskins fans coming out of the woodworks because they know that I am a Kirk Cousins supporter. So they're going to want to make sure that I know that Kirk stunk it up. You're going to get people that just don't like Kirk Cousins, think he stinks. You're going to get people that think he got overpaid. All of those people are going to come out of the woodworks every time he loses. But at the end of the day, it's a team game. He didn't. It'd be one thing if Kirk had time and he just missed, like Dak Prescott yesterday, where you got time in the pocket and you're just missing and receivers are dropping passes that aren't on target. That wasn't the case tonight. He didn't have time. Like, I don't know what you were expecting him to do. But we saw Aaron Rodgers in a similar game this season versus the 49ers where he didn't have time. You can't make time if guys aren't giving it to you. Like, there are only a select few of guys in this league that can take a situation like Kirk was in tonight and find a way to make it work. Mahomes will just keep backing up, and throw a 30-yard dart. Like, there aren't many Patrick Mahomeses in this league. Lamar Jackson might be able to escape out the back door and extend and make a play. But, again, there are only a select handful of guys that can make something of an offensive line performance like the one Kirk Cousins was behind tonight. There aren't many, and Cousins isn't one of them. Gregory Lightbody says, where do you rank Terry among receivers? Again, he's way down the list. He's a rookie. Azad Bilal says, how was Za'Darius Smith not a Pro Bowler? He was just unreal in this game. The Pro Bowl is a joke. Now, I don't know who actually made it. And maybe the guys that made it are very deserving. And maybe they had better years than Za'Darius Smith did. But, I mean, when you look at the Pro Bowl now, it's really just a popularity contest. People don't actually know what these players are doing. They just go off of name recognition. Like, I can tell you right now, Brandon Sheriff, a Redskins offensive guard, he was not a Pro Bowl guard this year. Had no business representing the Redskins as a first-team Pro Bowler. Maybe a third-team alternate or something like that. But no way should he have been the starting guard. But that was just off of name recognition. It is what it is. I don't know who made it in from the NFC. Obviously, the Buccaneers had my man Shaq Barrett shoo-in for the Pro Bowl. Definitely deserved one of those spots. I don't know who was opposite of him. I would assume a Nick Bosa or someone like that. Those guys deserve to be ahead of Za'Darius Smith. But, Za'Darius deserves to be an alternate or one of the third or fourth outside backers, whatever the case may be. But Za'Darius Smith was definitely unreal, as you said, in this game. JP says the officiating was ass cheeks in this game. I agree with Michael Wilbon said a week ago that the Zebras have ruined this season. I disagree with that. Every game, everyone's got something to say about this. I thought the officials did a great job tonight. I don't know what game you were watching. I thought there were maybe one or two missed calls. There was a catch at the end of the game that they ruled incomplete. That wasn't a catch. That was a catch that they ruled incomplete. Who cares? It was like a 2-yard gain. Really, the Vikings were lucky because if he catches that, they are probably going to burn off another 20, 25 seconds on a two-yard completion at a time in the game where you need every single second you can have. So that they actually did them a favor there. I thought they let them play. There weren't many flags tonight. I thought this was a beautiful job by the officiating crew. So, again, we weren't watching the same game. I didn't have many qualms with the way the game was officiated tonight. This is one of the cleaner officiated games that I've seen all season long. So, again, we just don't see the game the same. Azad Bilal says, the Packers Pro Bowl snubs really showed out this game. Aaron Jones, Za'Darius Smith, Kenny Clark. Yeah. I don't know how Aaron Jones didn't make it as a Pro Bowler. I'm trying to think of NFC running backs. Dalvin Cook obviously belongs. Saquon Barkley obviously is going to be another guy that probably goes. But remember, he missed time this year. So I'd venture to say that McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook are your two running backs that made the squad right off the bat. And then I don't know how many backs they carry on the Pro Bowl roster. Maybe 3. If there's a third back, how is it not Aaron Jones? Probably Zeke Elliott, But for my money, Aaron Jones is a guy that probably should be on that over maybe a Zeke Elliott. But, I mean, it's hard because Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey off top deserve to be there. And then Zeke Elliott had another strong year. I feel like Aaron Jones had a stronger year, if that makes any sense. But, okay. Za'Darius Smith, like I just said, I don't know how many guys go as a defensive end / outside linebacker, but you got 2 in Shaq Barrett and Nick Bosa that definitely deserve to be there. And then after that, your guess is as good as mine. And then Kenny Clark, I think just defensive tackle in general was loaded in the NFC side because you start with Aaron Donald and then you kind of just go down the list of guys. My guy, Matt Ioannidis, I thought could have been a Pro Bowler, and he's like a 4th team alternate. So, it's loaded at defensive tackle. Gregory Lightbody says, what do you think about Beast Mode signing with the Seahawks? Is that official? I didn't know if he signed or not. But if he did, that's cool. It'll be nice to see him back in there. But, he wasn't all that great with the Raiders the last time around. So, it really doesn't really move the needle for me. But, maybe he comes to life again, in a Seattle Seahawks uniform or something. I don't know. We'll see. Niners fan says, LOL, we'll put CJ Ham back there and carve them up. You saw what I did there, huh? Yeah. Black Eye B says, what it do, Lou? Before I go off on my tangent, happy holidays to you and yours. Likewise, man. Likewise. Good to hear from you. I didn't think I would hear from you tonight. I generally, when a fan that usually joins me, his team loses, his or her team loses, I don't hear from them that night. Like, I know my man Nick at Night not going to be present for tonight's telecast. Whether he was at work or not, he wasn't going to be here because they lost. I generally don't hear from him on nights where they lose. So it's good to hear from you, man. It really is. He says, Welp, like I've stated numerous times, that Seahawks game coupled with this loss makes the Vikes pretenders. I was waiting for my nephew's reference. Hype Dude says, Kirk Cousins might start calling in sick on Monday nights. Good one. Good one. He says, really, though, the constant talk about his loss record on Mondays, is it getting to his head and others around him on the field? I don't know, man. I just know it's weighing on him. You could tell, especially at the end of the game, he knew what the narrative was going to be after this game was over. And, it's a shame, but it's the reality of the position. It's the reality of his contract. It's the reality of his situation. It is what it is. He's got to do a better job of trying to change it, but also the supporting cast. Monday night against the Seahawks, the defense didn't show up. He did his part. You scored 30 on the road versus Seattle. You should be able to win. It wasn't enough. He turns around in this particular game here, and he gets no help from his offensive line whatsoever. The running game was non-existent, and the defense stood on its head early on in this game. Forcing turnovers, creating short fields. They did everything they needed to do to give them a chance to jump out to an early lead and put the pressure on the Packers on the road in a hostile environment. And instead, they didn't take advantage of it, and they allowed the Packers to settle in and take full control over this football game. Azad Bilal says, all the Packers got to do is win next week, and they're getting the bye, either the 1 or 2 seed. But if Seattle wins and we win, we get the number 1 seed in the NFC. And that's what I clarified. I got a little confused because I forgot Seattle lost yesterday because I just assumed last week that they were going to take care of Arizona. And I thought they could struggle with Arizona the first time around, and they didn't. They took care of them pretty handily. No, they struggled a bit. It was the Rams that took care of Arizona pretty handily in Arizona. So I said, well, they're going to take care of the Arizona Cardinals. And I was wrong. So now all they have to do is win, and they got a first-round bye because they're the 2 seed with just a win. They're back to the 2 seed right now as we speak, and a win will solidify that next week. A win coupled with a Seahawks win, and they're the number 1 seed. So we'll see what happens. Gregory Lightbody says, This is why the Skins should get Yannick Ngakoue and Chase Young in the draft. 2 is better than 1. It is, but they're not going to double down on the position that way, especially with all the guys that we have on the roster already and them having just drafted Montez Sweat. Azad Bilal says, with the Vikings loss, we are most likely going to get a Minneapolis Miracle rematch. Saints, Vikings, and wild card. Does Minnesota have a shot with Cook, even with Cook in that game? They do. They do have a shot because the Saints defensively haven't been all that great of late. They're different at home than they are on the road. That Tennessee game, they gave up 28 points in that football game, but that was on the road. And Tennessee is one of those teams. They're tough to deal with. But I think they can score on the Vikings. The problem is I'm not confident in that defense's ability to frustrate Drew Brees and stop Michael Thomas and stop Alvin Kamara. And shout out to Michael Thomas for setting the NFL record, single season record for most receptions in a campaign. That's mind-boggling. And the fact that he still got an entire game to go, the man is going to eclipse 150 receptions on the season. And honestly speaking, I can't see anybody breaking that. The amount of throws, the high volume number of throws he gets on a weekly basis is insane. And the fact that he gets so many targets and there's so many catches, ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. And this is one of those records. If let's say he has another 10 grabs, and it's very, very doable, okay? It's very conceivable that he goes out and gets 10 catches and ends up with 155 grabs. Who's beating that? Who's catching 155 balls in one season? Like, I just... And remember, that was some Teddy Bridgewater in there. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Jarrett Coleman says, Kirk Cousins is complete trash. Or what? No wonder we, Redskins, didn't give him the contract he wanted. And Aaron Jones is a complete monster running that ball. Did a hell of a job tonight. I don't agree with that, but we've been down that road before, so I don't need to go down there again. Black LB says, you need to school your HTTR fam that they need to get to, he says, they need to get the hell over it and that they wish they had Kirk Nephew's mediocre skills over what the hell y'all got going on now. Hashtag just saying. Look, I would take Kirk back in a heartbeat. I'm happy with the development I've seen out of Dwayne Haskins. This isn't like last year where we had Alex Smith, and I'm over here begging for Kirk to come back. But, you know, the Redskins would be a different team if Kirk Cousins were still here. I can tell you this much. We wouldn't be 3-12 right now. That's for damn sure. HHC Lunar says, enjoy Chase Lou from a Giants fan. Hey, I appreciate that. And I thank you guys for holding up your end of the bargain. We had the powwow a couple of weeks ago, and you guys, it was some pushback from y'all because I said, you got to lose to the Eagles. You're like, no, man, we can beat the Eagles. And I was like, come on, man. It's for the betterment of the entire division. We got to send a 9-7 division winner there. And there was a little bit of pushback, but you did what you were supposed to do, and then you blessed us with the number 2 pick and the inside track to the number 2 pick. We haven't locked it up yet, but I just appreciate everything and all the sacrifices that you've made this season. That's what family members do, man. Appreciate you. HHC Lunar says, Kevin King kind of good. Right now, second in the NFL in interceptions with 5. Look, Kevin King always had the talent. At watched him coming out, there was a lot made of him, his lack of tackling, and his ball skills weren't the best. But Kevin King has the length, he has the speed, and as you're seeing now, he's got the ability to make plays. I really like Kevin King, and I think he's grown since getting into the league. I really do. Neast703 says, 0-9, laughing my ass off. Z Smith was going off. Indeed, he did. Ed says, happy holidays. Likewise to you, Ed, you and yours. Gregory Lightbody says, what happened to Chris Jones this season? If you're talking about the Kansas City Chris Jones, he's playing just fine. Okay, he's still doing his thing. Ali Saad says, hey, Lou, I still need that podcast, brother. You know I won't let you go without a pod. Yeah, man, I'm going to be honest with you. It's looking less and less likely. We hit the road tomorrow. I've been trying to find the time to get it in, man, and I really wanted to, but it's just been so hectic over the last week with all the Christmas festivities and, you know, preparing for this trip, going out of town. And so it just hasn't been a lot of time for me to squeeze it in there. And if I find the time, I'm going to try to squeak one out, but it's not looking good right now. But I appreciate you checking me, man, and checking for the pod for sure. Derek B says, Week 17 bye week, no R3. Damn, you deserve it, but damn, see you in the playoffs. Merry Christmas to you and the fam. Yeah, I know that the timing of this bye week is not the best. Normally, I take the bye on Thanksgiving and finish up the season strong, but I didn't want to take the Thanksgiving week off this year. Just too many things were happening at that time, and I was in town, and so I just knew that this was going to be a week I wasn't going to be in town. So, yeah, Week 17 bye, not ideal, but you understand the dynamic here, and I appreciate y'all for that. JP says, Minnesota offense has 7 first downs in a game. Let that sink in for a second. If they don't get that solved in their next game, they're in serious trouble. Well, the next game is against the Bears, and it doesn't matter. They could lose that game, fall to 10-6. They're still the 6th seed. Doesn't matter. So they're fine. What you probably meant to say is if they do that in the next game after the next game, then there's a problem. Or 2 games from now. Young Deck says Aaron Jones misses the Pro Bowl because he had 800 yards and only 4.2 yards per carry this season. That's fine, but the touchdowns are what stood out for me. And I feel like a lot of times we don't take into consideration the full package. He's also a hell of a pass-catching back out of the backfield. And so there were games in there where the Packers just didn't give him the football. But, when you scored the amount of touchdowns that he scored and you couple in the receiving yards that he had, and I don't know where he is in the pantheon of running back receiving yards, but I'd venture to say that after probably Saquon, Dalvin Cook, and Christian McCaffrey, I'd like to think that he's probably the next back up in terms of receiving yards. There could be 1 or 2 more backs in there in front of him, but he's not too far down the list. But HTTR for life says, I got to be honest, if the Redskins screw up the second pick because we can't have nice things, I go for Jerry Jeudy, honestly, if he's available. It would be a crying shame and a travesty if the Redskins don't end up with the second pick in the draft. Derek B says, the Vikings defense was hitting tonight, but it seemed like the bad man can beat them just by habit eventually. The bad man he wasn't all that bad tonight. He was just good. He was just good. Like I said, he did a great job of managing the football game, but I thought he wasn't as sharp as we have been accustomed to seeing him. And I think that kind of goes for almost the entire year, but they're 12-3. Okay, say what you want. Similar to the New England Patriots. Say what the hell you want about the Patriots. Oh yeah, by the way, they're 12-3. Same thing with the Green Bay Packers. Say what you want. And I've talked some shit about them. And, every year I go into the season saying, Packers 12-4 this year. Packers 13-3. That's my move every year. There's the guy that every year thinks that the Detroit Lions are going to finally go, 11-5, 12-4, make the playoffs. There's that guy every year that thinks that for the Lions. I'm the guy every year that thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to lead his team to 12-4. If he's healthy, they're 12-4, 13-3. That's my standard default record for the Packers every year. And every year they're going to win the division. That's usually my stance. Well, it came to fruition this year. I don't think I had them at 13-3, but I think I did have them at 12-4 or 11-5. I know I didn't have them any worse than that, and I know that I had them winning the division, but I didn't think they would sweep the Vikings, though. Niners fan says, damn it, Lou. Week 17 in beast mode suddenly reemerges. He's going to be a headache for us on Sunday. We will see. Rodney Ray says, hey, Lou, it's been a while. Has been. He says, I actually feel bad for Kirk Cousins. Was never a Kirk guy with the skins, but he's actually a nice guy. I honestly think he suffers from sports anxiety. No, you didn't go to the sports anxiety, man. Stop it. Young Deck says, Saints have a better record on the road than at home. Not saying, I'm just saying. I'd love to see the opponents they played on the road to get that record that you speak of, because I think their home schedule has been brutal, and that's why they got a better home record. And remember what I said. I don't think that the Dome is that big of an advantage this year. I said that at the top of this show. Run it back. I said the only team that I feel like has a true distinctive home field advantage if they get the number 1 seed is Green Bay. I don't think Seattle is that team anymore at home. I don't think New Orleans is that scary in the dome anymore. So I don't think so. I think you're spot on with that. But I'd love to see the home versus away games because I'd like to think that their road schedule a lot easier than their home schedule. Now, granted, one of those losses, I can run them off the top of my head. They lost to the 49ers in the Dome. They lost to the Falcons in the Dome at home. So that's 2 losses at home. And I'm assuming their third loss was probably on the road. And can't think of it off the top of my head. Ravens? They played the Ravens? I think they played the Ravens. Did they play the Ravens? Nope, the Ravens played the 49ers division, the NFC West. They didn't play the Ravens. What division did they play? I don't know. Doesn't matter. They had to play the Titans. Colts, Jags. None of those teams beat them. None of those teams beat them. Nope, and they beat Houston in an epic comeback week 1. So I don't know who the other loss is. But anyway, I just told you the 2 teams they lost to at home. The Falcons, that's family business. Throw the records out the window, anything goes. And then the 49ers, they lost to the 49ers in an epic showdown for the ages. What up, Orlando? JP says, I know the job isn't done quite yet, but we're so close to Chase Young, I taste it. The 20th Mike says, Merry Christmas, Lou. I didn't see the game. Did I miss a good one? I thought the energy for the game was really good, but you didn't miss a great game, no. Meest703 says, what are your expectations from Case this week? Also, Callahan told a reporter he expects Flowers to get paid this offseason. Do you think a 1 year here is enough for someone to overpay for him? Absolutely. If they think that he can sustain the level of play he had at guard, yeah, he can get paid somewhere for sure. And I expect Case to Case this week. That's what I'm expecting from him, and I'll be disappointed if he doesn't. JP says, Kirk is now 0-9 on Monday night. I don't know if he'll ever win a Monday night game, honestly. He'll win eventually. Atlanta fan says, Saints lost to the Rams on the road. There you go. Early in the season. That was the game Drew Brees got hurt in. There you go. Thank you for that. That was their third and final loss, or at least the one that I couldn't think of. That was their first loss of the season, but that was the only road loss that they've had on the season. Young Deck says, Saints played the Bears, Seahawks, and Titans. Those aren't easy games. The Seahawks game, definitely not. The Titans, no, it's not. That's not a walk in the park either. And the Bears, I guess. I'll give you that. Their defense is still pretty badass. So I'll give you that. You're right. That's not an easy road schedule. But they got it done. So anyway, that's going to do it for me. I am now officially off to my bye week. I thank you guys for sending me off in a proper fashion. Looking forward to jumping back on with you guys and picking right up where we left off. If I get back in town early, which I don't see happening, I may jump on for the Sunday night game if I'm back in town. I don't think I'm going to be back in town then, so don't look for it. Don't count on it. But in any event, unless Bruce Allen gets canned, you probably won't hear from me nor see me next week. I will enjoy the bye week, but I will be salivating to get back in front of the camera and the mic and bless you guys with some more content. So you guys hold it down while I'm gone. Make sure you behave yourselves. Enjoy the holiday season. Have a Merry Christmas. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do, but also live it up. Have fun. All right. And we'll come back. We'll reconvene and we'll pick right back up, starting with the playoffs. And we'll look forward to having a massive playoff, postseason. This year, the regular season, as I've said numerous times, has over-delivered, and it's not going to stop week 17. You got a massive game to end off the 2019 regular season, the 256 regular season games every year, and I love when the final one of the season has a lot at stake, and this one does. Now, I love the winner-takes-all games, though. I prefer those where, hey, man, you either going to win a division or you're going to take your ass home. That's not this situation. Someone's going to win a division. Someone's going to get the number 1 seed or a first-round bye, most likely. And or, Seattle, and if they win this game, they're not getting a first round bye. They're going to probably get the number 3 seed, but someone's going to win, all right, the division, and someone's going to have the consolation of going to Philadelphia, most likely, to play a playoff game, which is a damn shame. So we're going to see what happens. Should be a ton of fun either way. I thank you guys for all your support. As I've said on other platforms, and I continue to say, you guys have made this by far and away the most successful year of the Louie T Network. And the next time I see you, it may not be until the turn of the next year. So whatever the case may be, whether I catch up with you guys before the turn of the new year or not, thank you for all that you have provided here on the Louie T Network, whether it's likes, whether it's financial gains or financial contributions, whether it's your time, your comments, your dedication. Everything that you have provided here has helped this channel grow exponentially in ways I couldn't have imagined in 2019. And I'm looking forward to new and bigger heights in 2020. And it's going to start with you guys. You are my core audience, the guys that join me every single time after these games. You are my core audience. You are the guys that I live and die with on this channel and this brand. And I thank you guys for all that you provide here on the Louie T Network. So once again, thank you. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a blessed new year to each and every single one of you and your close loved ones as we head into a new year. I thank you guys. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content, and also make sure you share this video on your Facebook platforms, your Facebook pages, or whatever you're on. Share these videos as well, if at all possible. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Until next time, you guys, take care. Be safe. I'll see you on the other side. Have a good one.